Now that we got the big patch that has come out and we know the war bonds aren't coming for a little bit, we're in a little bit of a content dry spell. So I figured now's a good time as any to talk about a few things I'd like to see added to the game as just fun new items, fun new stratagems, fun new armors. This is going to be in no particular order, and of course this is not like leaks or anything that I think is coming, but rather things that I think would be really fun to add to the game or would add to the game overall. First up, I would love a stratagem cannon. I think this would be like a pistol. We don't have too many utility pistols. Almost all the pistols are damage, unless you count like the grenade pistol as a utility pistol for taking down like bug holes, but I think we could use a few more utility pistols. So I'm thinking of something like a strategy yeeter, something that you could preload like 3 stratagems into. Like you physically enter in the stratagem code and you load it into the pistol and then it can fire them super far away. This would mean that you could preload in a few stratagems that you, in case you need them in like emergency, you can fire them farther away. I think it'd just be a great way to increase the use of different stratagems that maybe are harder to use because you need to throw them far, without needing to use the servo-assisted armor. Speaking of armor, we've talked about that we want an armor rework altogether, that it's just kind of boring that you just select whatever armor has your favorite trait on it and off you go. In fact, they're doing a little poll in the Discord now to talk about what people's favorite armors are, and it's kind of shocking to see how divided the community is. About 20% on each major powerful armor perk, and it's something that people just have as like a playstyle preference, but it just means that they are basically limited to that armor that they play with. And while I do want a whole armor rework, in the meantime I would love a new armor perk that allows you to carry an extra either backpack or shoulder weapon. Like imagine if you could use like say a spear and also hold the stalwart on your back. I think having 2 stratagem weapons would be insanely awesome for certain builds. Now I know this might seem a little overpowered, but remember you're losing another stratagem because you're holding onto 2 stratagem weapons at once. Unless you're stealing your allies, which requires you not dying and losing it, I think it would be fairly balanced and I think it would make some crazy, incredible builds. I think it kind of also solves the problem that a lot of people feel they have to always bring anti-tank stuff like a recoilless rifle or a quasar cannon, so they can't bring the anti-chaff stuff because they always have to have the anti-heavy stuff. This would give you the ability to carry both if you really want to have all those options available to you. I love fire damage. I know a lot of people love the flamethrower, and I know at least everyone at least once has requested a flamethrower pistol, so that would be my next suggestion. I really want a flamethrower pistol available to us. It doesn't have to be as strong as the flamethrower, or maybe it just has far less ammo so it's as strong but it only shoots in very, very short bursts. Either way, I really, really want a flamethrower pistol. Please give it to us. I also want fire variants of a lot of our current stratagems, such as the laser beam. I would love if instead of an orbital laser, we could fire in a orbital flamethrower. Basically our own personal fire tornado for our own use. I would love that. I think that would be a ton of fun. Please give us more firepower. One more variant I want is the mortar barrage, and I would love to change out the EMS mortar, or rather not get rid of it, but give us another mortar and make it fire napalm. I know that would be a team killing monster, I understand that, but as I said, I love fire damage. I would love to have that. Please give it to us as an option. Another community option I absolutely love the idea of is if we could call down a stratagem for armor piercing rounds. And the idea is that it would increase the piercing level by 1 or 2 of whatever gun you're currently holding. So for a stratagem slot, you could turn a medium piercing into heavy piercing, a light into medium, and no piercing into light piercing. I think this would be an interesting way to give some anti-tank to people who don't want to carry around a rocket launcher. Making a medium piercing gun have heavy piercing capabilities for 1 or 2 magazines, I think would be a great way to take down some of those extra chargers. And there have been a lot of chargers in the last patch. I would love a orbital healing mist, or even if they gave us like a grenade that instead of exploding, blew up into like a healing mist, a healing gel, so that when our allies are in danger, we could toss it over to them and heal them up and prevent a death. I think that would be super awesome. Also in the realm of utility, I would like a few more utility items or utility stratagems that don't necessarily deal damage, but help people out. I know that some of these wouldn't necessarily be the most powerful, but I think that they could be useful for like lower level players, newer players, or people who just want more options to stay alive who find themselves dying too much. I would love some sort of emergency extract from your current position, kind of like Lieutenant Morales in Heroes of the Storm, if you've ever played that, where it calls in like a pelican, you get on and it zooms you across the map. There are a lot of maps with a lot of running. I think that would be awesome for moments where you're completely surrounded, where you just need to get out of the area, where you don't want to die, or you want to save yourself an hour of running from side to side. I would love it even more if it was like the giant balloon from Metal Gear Solid 5, where you just like pull a strap on your chest, a giant balloon inflates and you float up and the pelican grabs you and moves you to somewhere else. Maybe even it was completely random. Basically, it's like, oh, I'm surrounded, I'm gonna die. I pull this emergency cord and I'm removed from the area, but now, I have no idea where I'm at. I'm not with my allies, whatever it is. It's just an emergency, get me out of here right now button. Again, wouldn't be super powerful, but I think some people would find use and fun in that. I would love if we got some sort of like electric fence, something that we could drop down in the area and like hordes of enemies couldn't push through it. It would zap them, hurt them, and then you could shoot through it and take down the chaff. I think that would be a great way for like area denial, slow damage, and a lot of fun for rounding up a bunch of enemies and zapping them. Speaking of enemies, I know we're going to get the Illuminate soon, so I know we're going to have new enemy types coming, and there's a lot of buzz that we're going to get the enemy Hive Lords coming in the next patch, or there's something big coming with them, so I know we're getting new enemies. However, there is one other enemy I would like to see, and that is there have been a few planets that you can go on where the bugs and bots have both been together, and there's been a few rare campaigns where they were pushing really close to each other. I would love to see, maybe rarely, maybe just a planet of them, of a mix of bugs and bots together. I think it would be absolute chaos. I definitely think it would be hard. It would definitely be really hard to plan for, but I think it would be a blast. So please give us a mixture of bugs and bots. Have the bugs or the bots, taking the bugs hostage and experimenting on them, creating something, give us new monstrosities to fight. More enemies is always more fun. I'd like to see them do something with the 380 barrage or give us some variant of it that's a little bit more accurate. I know people absolutely hate the 380 barrage because some people don't know how to use it. They drop it on themselves, ends up just blowing up your own team. You can throw it into a middle of a hive and it'll miss every single shot. Right now, it's seen as not worth bringing because it's just so inaccurate, so dangerous for your own team. I would like to see some changes to that. And they could make it target enemies for sure, maybe target big enemies so it would always take down the Bile Titans or the Chargers. I think that would be awesome. But I would also love if they loaded gas into those shells and left a lingering damage over time to take out swarms as they're kind of walking through it. It still wouldn't be the greatest for taking out like an active horde that's charging towards you, but combine that with like the strategy yeeter we were talking about earlier, you fire it across the map and it'll thin out the herd and then you go in and clean up afterwards. I know people have been clamoring for it since day one. We want weapons, we want energy swords, we want chainsaws, we want some form of melee weapon. Granted, with how weak Helldivers are, with how soon and fast you die, I don't necessarily know that it actually works with how the game is balanced now, but I have confidence they could make it work, and I really want to go in and chainsaw some bugs. So please, please, please give us a chainsaw and let us light it on fire. I have no idea how you would balance this one, but I'm going to throw it out there. Again, it comes from Heroes of the Storm. One of the characters, Blaze, his ultimate is he calls down a bunker. You all jump in the bunker so you can't take damage, and you can shoot flamethrowers out the side to hurt enemies. I would love a portable bunker. Maybe it can't move, but you can call it down somewhere. So when you're doing a last stand like on evac, you're trying to hold a critical point like the objective, be able to call down a little extra armor, little extra damage, and fortify everyone, I think would be an absolute blast for team play. I would love if we got some sort of giant thermonuclear C4 as a grenade, something that we could attach to something like these chargers and wait for them to run into their own enemies and then light it off and explode in huge explosions. I think it would be awesome for kind of a more interactive grenades, not something you just throw and blow up huge hordes, but rather you have to strategize or even lay the trap beforehand, let them walk over and destroy it. Now, I know big explosions are usually overpowered, except for, the 500 kg. That's a talk for another time. However, I think that it would be balanced in the fact that it doesn't maybe instantly detonate, and of course can take out your teammates, so you really have to decide where are you going to use this, where are you going to throw this. I think that could be a blast. I like area denial tools. I think something the whole community has been asking for is for our helmets to do something different. There's been talk about like thermal vision, night vision, maybe a heads-up display that lets you see enemies or highlights them for you, maybe some sort of targeting. I would love if our helmets were more than just cosmetic. I think that will come with an armor update that may be in the works. I have a theory they're working on armor right now. And finally, this is not necessarily one stratagem, but I think it would be something to add to all the stratagems overall. I would love to see more elements. The most obvious one being like frost that could do some slowing damage or freezing enemies in place, something like that. I'd love to see acid that eats through armor, or even some more of like that experimental goo backpack we had that was super powerful but took our allies out. It would be awesome to be able to have like higher risk stratagems that were infused with the experimental goo that caused bigger explosions, bigger downsides, but even bigger upsides. I think that would allow for higher scale plays and just give us more stratagems, more options. Again, all these things don't have to be super balanced. They don't have to be all top picks. They don't have to be all meta picks, but rather giving us more niche items for rounding out our kits, for doing niche objectives, or for different missions and strategies. I think I covered a great deal of the community wants in this video, and obviously a bunch of things that I want. If I missed something though, if there's something you want added to the game that's a stratagem, that's a weapon, that's an armor that I didn't bring up, put it down below in the comments. I'd love to hear more community ideas. And as always, thank you for watching. Have a blessed day.